Welcome to State of Open Subset from Open UK. My name is Lorna and I'm a board director at Open UK as well as an open technology leader. I'm pleased to have you joining us for today's session. State of Open Subset is a part of our annual conference, State of Open Con. We had many more great talks submitted than we had track space for, so we're pleased to share at least some of those talks with you in this talk series. Each subset episode will also be available on our website at openuk.uk/subset and on our YouTube channel. Our speakers will join us live and will be around after their talk to answer questions. Although we meet digitally, every session is subject to the Open UK Code of Respect, which you can find at the bottom of every page of our website. Please feel free to share how things are going today with the hashtags OpenUK and State of Open Subset. Our speaker today is Ruth Ikegah, GitHub Star and Open Source Community Force of Nature. She's an open source program manager, but you may also know her from her work with the Chaos Project, improving open source community health everywhere, but particularly in Africa. Ruth's talk today is about exactly that, measuring the health of our open source communities, and I'm really looking forward to hearing her insights. There will be time for questions after the talk, so please stay with us for that. Ruth, the stage is all yours.
Hello everyone, welcome to my talk, and I'm excited to give this talk at Open UK. Thank you Open UK for the opportunity to share one of insights from one of my favorite open source projects. And today I'll be talking about measuring open source community health with the Chaos Project. So about me, I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm an open source consultant at Ruth Ikegah. And I've been doing open source for over 3 years now, counting 3 years. And it has been an insightful journey. Before going deep into my talk, I'm going to definitely share how I got into the world of open source. I'm also a program manager at the Open Source Community Africa. During Open UK's events, which I wasn't able to attend because of some visa issues. Samson from Oscar, the founder of Oscar, did share and talk about the work we've been doing at Open Source Community Africa. I'm also a community lead at one of the chapters at the Chaos Project, and I'm also a GitHub Star, and this is one of my greatest achievements in open source. And I'm excited to, chat with you about how you can use the Chaos Project to measure open source community health and why you should care about metrics. So a bit of a backstory about how I started contributing to open source. Originally, I do have a microbiology degree, so I transitioned during the pandemic. During the pandemic here in 2020, I was looking for something new to do since we were all kind of like stuck at home, and I transitioned to tech. And also at that time, I was in conversations with people that were already in tech and were already doing open source. And so I went back to them and asked them about, contributing to open source, since I saw they were knee deep into open source at the time. And they introduced me to the GNOME Foundation. And about that time, I was new in tech and new to open source. So it was like two new worlds for me. And while I was trying to understand, okay, what exactly is open source? How do someone like me as a beginner, because when I got into the GNOME project, there were like people with so many years of experience, and I really felt like an imposter in that project at the time when I started. So, I was really thinking about how do I fit in here. And the project I got involved in, the GNOME Foundation, in 2020 when I started contributing, was the Scalable Onboarding Project, and that project was put together by Sri. We're trying to make the GNOME Foundation, and even people, newcomers that were coming into the GNOME project, we're trying to make the project more inclusive, right? And while that project was, speaking to me as a beginner, I was able to, draw my insights from a beginner perspective. that's where my interest sparked about open source community health. And then I found the Chaos project as well, which I've been contributing since 2020. And so far in open source, I think that same year I started public speaking, and so far in open source, I've gotten a lot of like soft skills, gotten a couple of awards in open source, and impacted a lot of people here in my local region in Africa, contributing to open source. So it's been quite a long short ride for me, and it's been pretty exciting. So like I said, my talk today is, focused on the work that we do at the Chaos Project, and, how you listening to me can use the metrics that we create here at the Chaos Project, or even our software, to better your open source community, and even your contributors, and even your open source project or software. And this is a thank you to all the foundations and companies that have supported Chaos and still support Chaos. We've had that the Sloan Foundation, Mozilla, Red Hat, and the Ford Foundation that continue to support the work that we do at the Chaos Project. So yeah, I've been talking about chaos. So I thought it would be best to, it's actually an acronym. It would be best to, explain what this acronym means, or even show you what it means. The Chaos Project was founded in 2017, and it's part of the it's under the umbrella of the Linux Foundation project. And Chaos is an acronym. It means Community Health Analytics Open Source Software. So it's a combination of all we do at Chaos. We care about community health, and we create metrics that help other open source communities and projects analyze health and care about their contributors. So who does Chaos, how can you use Chaos, or where does Chaos fit in, or who is Chaos for? So a lot of times, back to when I said when I started contributing to open source, as a new contributor, it was important for me to understand where I fit in, or where I was, making impact. So for open source contributors, they want to know where should I place my efforts, what project should I contribute to, because sometimes when you start contributing to open source, there are so many open source projects out there, you do not know which to start for. So even our metrics speak to open source contributors that want to understand which projects they should start with, or which projects they should place their effort on, how should they identify with this project. And even for open source communities, they're made up of like different people, contributors make up these open source communities. And for community managers, they want to understand how to attract more members, how to even reward their existing members, and how to ensure that people are contributing and people are getting the value for what they contribute as well. So we also speak to like open source communities that want to measure health in their community. And then even for open source companies, we have seen the trend of companies being interested in open source and companies engaging in open source. So for these companies, while engaging and while contributing to these communities or projects that their software depends on, they also want to understand the impact that they have on the community. And with their employees that contribute to open source, they also want to understand how their employees are contributing to these open source projects, and how their impact is on this open source project. And even foundations also want to look at communities. Like I shared earlier, we have so a couple of foundations that do support the work that we are doing. Right, so open source foundations want to also identify and contribute back to these communities and evaluate their work. So if you want to check out the Chaos project, you can check out chaos .community, and we also have like a GitHub org as well of our different projects. So this is how we work at Chaos Project. I kind of like want to share this project structure, so to give you like some bit of insight once you like also check out the Chaos Project. So we have an intersection of like software, we have software that and down the talk I'll also show an instance from one of the software. So we have the software, and we have metrics that we create by different working groups. So there are different focus, different things that we can focus in open source. So we all do this in like different working groups that are listed out here. So for RICS, the RICS working group focuses on creating metrics that speak to compliance within compliance and RICS within software implementations. And the DI working group does focus on metrics that help open source communities define, improve their diversity, equity, and inclusion. And evolution talks about like the life cycle, creates metrics around the life cycle, and we also the life cycle of an open source project. And we also have the OSPO Working Group Open Source Program Office. This is in collaboration with the To-Do Group, also one of the projects of the Linux Foundation as well. So we also create metrics that help OSPOs or open source program managers analyze health within the software, the open source software that they are involved with. And then for the Commons Working Group is more like different metrics that do not really fit into the context of these other working groups. And then for metric models, this is one of we recently started this working group, and it was kind of a working group to bring together different metrics that we have created and help people understand how these multiple metrics playing with each other. And I'm also going to show how that also looks like in the demo that I'll share. So like I said, all these working groups, they focus on a particular category, and they define metrics that are in that category, be it RICS or DEI, or even evolution, or even in open source program offices. And they also we also recommend and define methods that collect data, that educate people on how they can collect data for these different metrics, and how they can measure and analyze these different metrics in their specific use case. So I think I want to take a step back to help you understand why metrics are important, right? And how metrics are relevant and important. So if I should say the number 3, 3 is just a number, and metrics sometimes they can be just a number without any relevance or importance. But if I should take it a step further and say 3 is the number of children that Prince William has, that begins to speak it has some importance, right? Once initially I said 3, and then I said 3 is the number of children that Prince William has, it begins to speak some importance to that number 3. There's some importance that 3 has after saying that, these are the number of children that Prince William has. Now, if, for example, your boss should ask you who will be the heir to the British throne, now that number 3 begins to have some relevance, because now the number of children, knowing that 3 is the number of children that Prince Charles has, Prince Williams has, it now makes more relevance to the research that you're going to do about who will be the heir to the British throne, right? So that's how metrics are important. And at the Chaos Project, we kind of use the goal, question, metric approach, asking, you need a goal, and then you ask the question, and then you define the metric. So where, say for example, you want to measure the impact of open source engagement in a project, then that's a goal, right? And then you ask the question, what is the trend of newcomers that are coming into the project, and then the metric then means that you want to now find what number, the number of newcomers that are attracted to that project. So that's kind of how we define metrics in the Chaos Project. and I would love to do kind of like a quick short demo about the metrics that we have defined at Chaos. They're over 70, but I'll just have to do a very short demo about how you can use these metrics and what these metrics, the format in which these metrics look like. So these are the metrics. This is the Chaos website. We all have all the metrics that we have are released, and we then attach them to the Chaos website. We also have them on our GitHub repository as well, so you can also check out the GitHub repository. So we have arranged the metrics in different topic areas. Initially we had these metrics as per working group, but after redesigning our website, we thought it would be better to arrange these metrics under different topic areas to speak to how people find these metrics. So if you look at the different topic areas we have, if you're looking for metrics that are related to an organization or platform related or software, or metrics related to contributions, or metrics even related to conferences, virtual or in-person conferences, metrics related to governance and leadership, life cycle, contributor community. So these are all the different metrics. We separated them into different topic areas. And also, the metric models, like user stories of how these different metrics, these multiple metrics play into each other. So let's take a look at the organization. Metrics related. So I'm just going to do an example with metrics related to an organization. Now, for example, this is one of the metrics under the topics organization for people that are interested to measure how they contribute their time and resources, how an organization contributes their time and resources to the success of a project. So for example, looking at the metric organizational diversity, so like I said, we asked the question first, like what's we have the goal to measure diversity, the goal question metric approach. You have the goal to measure diversity, organizational diversity of an open source project, right? So say for example the Chaos project as an open source project, you want to measure what is the organizational diversity, how many different organizations are contributing to this project, to this open source project. And then how the metric works, or how we define these metrics. We have a particular description, and we have the different objectives that are under that metric, and we have like an implementation category on how you can implement that metric, on how you can collect data, and identify affiliations within that project. And like I said, we have two softwares that talk about like that make these visualizations. And first we have the Grimoire Lab software and the Augur software. So for Grimoire Lab is more like of a data tool set. So Grimoire Lab is more of a tool set, a software development tool set that analyzes open source projects, in the sense that it takes the data from different repositories, and then it cleans that data, stores it in the database, and then enriches that data, and then you can make visualizations and analysis with that data. So this is an example. For each of the metrics that we have like an example from each of the software, maybe from Augur or from Grimoire Lab. So this visualization shows the visualization of the different organizations or companies that are contributing to a particular open source project as well. And then we also define the tools that are providing that metric as well. And this is an example from the LF Analytics as well. And we also define some data collection strategies for you to have like some context on how you on the qualitative and the quantitative part, on how you can measure these different, collect these different data qualitatively. And we also have like references, because all these metrics that we create, we do our research and we add references and the different contributors that have participated in making that metric a success. So that this is an example of how each like metric looks like. And if you also check, I'll also love to show one of the metric models. There are different metrics in this organization topic category, but I'd love to show like a metric model, an example of a metric model, which is the funding category. So this, for metric models, they are different metrics we put together, and they are like for different user stories. So if you want to understand, how funding, why funding matters in open source, you can, maybe as like an open source program manager, you're trying to understand how funding matters and how sufficient, how much funding sustains a project, right? So you can use this funding model, metric model. You can check like these are different metrics that we have in this model, and these are different things that you can measure in the case where you want to fund an open source project. So that's how the metrics model, the metric model metrics are, the metric models are, and that's how they look like. Secondly, I would love to show another demo from the Chaos project, one of the software at the Chaos project. So this is the demo from the Grimoire Lab instance. Like you can see, these are different projects that are under the Chaos project. And like I said, the Grimoire Lab software kind of takes data from the different repositories and the different data sources, maybe from mailing list, from Slack, from Discord, depending on the communication platforms or the data sources that an open source project has, and it kind of like cleans this data and stores this data in databases, and it enriches it, and gives affiliations to this data, and then you can create different dashboards. This is the Chaos instance. This is just an example from the Chaos instance, and it's drawing from all the different open source, all the different repositories that we have on GitHub. These are all the repositories that are under the GitHub organization. So for example, would want to look at maybe the community, and maybe I have for an example, I want to see how many newcomers and are contributing to this project. We have like a dashboard here of different categories. So if I check on the attraction and retention dashboard, I'd see a summary of like different visualizations of people that are the commits that have been made and the different authors. I can also scroll and see if the developers that are getting inactive, and I can also see the people that have been a trend of the people, a line chart of the people that have been making commits or developers getting inactive. I can see a line chart of the attracted developers and the last attracted developers as well, and this will give me some insight on where I can focus my efforts on as a community manager. So this is an example of how the software Grimoire Lab works. So basically, if you want to, it's also open source, and we have at the chaos.community/software, you can check out Grimoire Lab and also run an instance of the project, of your project in Grimoire Lab. So how can you get involved in the Chaos software and start using the metrics? There are different ways that you can participate. You can participate with software, you can participate in creating metrics, you can also participate in the working groups and help create different metrics. And we also do have local chapters. Like I said, I am involved in the Chaos Africa local chapter, and we also have like a local chapter for the Asia Pacific region. You can, contribute to any of these chapters, and we have also our socials where you can keep up to date with what we do at the Chaos Project. We have 2 different socials for one of the chapter and the general Chaos Project, and we have a YouTube channel where we put all our working group meetings are recorded, so they are usually up on the YouTube channel. So you can go to chaos the community/participate to check out how you can contribute to the chaos and how the Chaos Project and how you can use our metrics. Thank you so much for listening to my talk, and I'd love to take questions.
Thanks so much for joining us today. If you think that you have a talk that would fit with Subset or State of OpenCon, let us know. We will open the CFP for State of OpenCon this summer, but if you want to speak as part of the Subset series, you can drop us a note. Please email admin@openuk.uk with your bio, your talk proposal, and why you think it's a good fit. You can also sign up to the Open UK newsletter. It's at the top of every page of our website. You can hear more about what we're up to or come along to our meetups and meet the team. Our next talk will be the 30th of May, and it's an Open UK special session since our speaker will be Amanda Brock, our CEO. Talk to you then.